Hi, and welcome back to But Where Are You From? A podcast by besea.n, Britain's East and Southeast Asian network.
It's
We're back.
been a while.
We
It
are
has
back.
been a while. Oh, I've missed this.
Yeah.
I've missed you.
How lovely.
I mean, it's not like we haven't seen each other or spoken to each other, but it has been a long time since we've recorded.
Let's just pretend we haven't for the sake of podcast. Pretend we haven't been on holiday with each other and stuff.
It's true. A lot of stuff has changed since we last recorded together, including I live in this country now.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mai-Anh. Mai-Anh, would you like to say hi and just give a update on where you are in your life?
Yeah, it's my comeback year. Hi everyone. It's nice to be back. I am now I've traded in the shores of West Africa for Scotland. So it's nice to be back in Edinburgh. It was a little bit of a reverse culture shock, I have to say. But I'm really getting back into the swing of being back here. It's been a few months. It's been nice being able to be seeing people a lot more. And I have to say, something that I'm really enthusiastic about is fostering new friends and new EC community stuff in Edinburgh, which is really nice. I've joined an outdoorsy group, which is pretty cool. They're called EC Outdoors. I'm trying to embrace everything nature and outdoorsy. So that's been really nice. And actually, do you know what? Since I've been gone, there's a part of Edinburgh that's not too far away from where I live that's kind of transforming itself into like a mini Chinatown, which is really nice. There's just loads and loads of EC shops and restaurants and supermarkets and bubble tea shops and hairdressers now. Like I've got a good hairdresser close by, which is none of this really existed when I was a student here. So yeah, it's good to be back.
Yay! Welcome back on both accounts to the podcast and also to the United Kingdom. And David,
Yeah.
hello.
Hi.
How are you? Welcome back.
I'm good. Yeah. I didn't do a full-on migration, but I did just come back from home, which was nice. And I don't know, it's been what 12 years now of going back and forth, and it's always yeah, it still takes time to settle, right? To get back used to the cold, all
Yeah.
the people and just the culture. So yeah, like
I don't know
easing.
how I don't know how you deal with the jet lag when you go to Malaysia so often.
I just don't and let it consume me.
Go into like full goblin mode when you get home.
Totally, yeah. And I think especially in the last few years with my nieces, there's just no way getting around easing into, curing the jet lag because they would not really understand that concept. So they would just, keep coming and playing from day one, which meant I won't get a night's sleep. And then by the time I'm fully recovered, it's time to go back home, back to
Oh,
London.
I think this
My
is the great thing about not having kids of your own, though, is that you
Yeah,
can just play and then leave them.
yeah,
yes, here you
yeah.
go. Take them
Yeah.
back.
Your
Yeah.
ease is the most treasured because there's distance. With
Yes.
distance come longing, and I love being part of that.
I have to say, I'm like 100% embodying that. There's an Instagram account that I follow. It's Rachel Cargill, but it's called Rich Auntie Supreme. And it's
Mhm.
basically like kind of a tongue-in-cheek, but kind of serious account. And I feel like I'm in my rich auntie era, like rich in terms of like, you know,
Oh, rich.
health and freedom and rich in time and all that kind of stuff. But like the mysterious aunt who spends inordinate amounts of time on mysterious holidays abroad and then just reappears to give people red packets and then like disappears again. Like that's the energy that I want to bring into this
That
year.
sounds great, to be honest. We've all been home, as in like our so I went back to Hong Kong last year. Mai-Anh, you visited Vietnam for the first time since COVID, I think, or before COVID. So, and then David, you obviously been home to Malaysia. So we've all been back to our homes over the past few years, which has been really nice, hasn't it?
Mm,
I think for me in particular, I had this I think my last trip was the most I'd say it was a bit of a reawakening because
Mm.
and I'm sure loads of people listening can identify with this, when you go to visit where your parents are like from. Normally all the time is just spent doing family stuff, and Vietnam's obviously a really popular holiday destination. People would say, oh my God, I loved Vietnam, we love doing this and this and this, and I would sit there kind of nodding and like not really know what they're, because when I go to Vietnam it's either family stuff or shopping. Or
Yeah.
when we were younger, my mum just used to kind of like park us at a swimming pool and then just go off and do all the errands and stuff that she needed to do and all the family stuff. But this time I was back and I took my partner with me, and it was the first time that he'd ever been to Southeast Asia, let alone to Vietnam. And it was almost like seeing it anew through his eyes and getting to show him things that I just think are really normal, like getting iced coffee from street vendors and eating street food and stuff like that. He just thought was absolutely incredible. Or just being constantly fed things. And my aunt's a really good cook, and if you say that you like one thing, then the next time you come there's a huge plate of it. And he just was really amazed by all of that. And it also gave me an opportunity to be a bit of a tourist and to go and travel a little bit. But also, it was most importantly, I think, the first time where I was going back with full consciousness about wanting to connect with my family history. And in the last few years, I've had quite a few conversations with my mum about this, and she's expressed regret at not being able to have had these conversations with her parents. My grandparents lived through some really interesting and challenging times, prior to the American Vietnamese War, that we don't actually have that much insight into. And I was just very aware of the fact that family members are getting older. I spent a lot of time asking questions. I reconnected with a long lost relative that no one else in my family has seen for a really long time. I visited my grandfather's ancestral homeland. I felt really, really like connected to the land. And I've always felt that feeling when I go to Vietnam, but this was the first time I felt like I could actually tie those feelings to kind of concrete places and people, and that was really transformative for me.
Oh, yeah, I felt really similar when I went back to Hong Kong, and I think like you put it so well about the kind of the conscious awakening of going back to your homeland, but doing it in a way that's really intentional. Like I hadn't really asked about my grandparents that much up until I went back on this trip, and my uncle took us to where my grandma used to sell vegetables, and now it's like a really like modern street in central Hong Kong, but back then it was just like market stalls. And we went to with the time that I went back in October, it was the time to besean, which meant that we all went to sweep the graves of our ancestors and worship them, and do the whole kind of like ancestral veneration thing. And like it didn't really mean anything to me when I used to do it when I was a child going back to Hong Kong, but now I felt really emotional this year going back and just actually thinking about the fact that just 2 generations ago, like similar to your grandparents, and I'm sure so many other people's, like the lives are just so different. Like my grandma trekked across to Shenzhen with 2 babies to get across the border to Hong Kong. Like I can't even imagine doing a trek for a day. You know, the trek that I do is to Pilates. It's crazy, isn't it? The differences.
David, actually, I think this is maybe an interesting question for you, because you obviously grew up in Malaysia, but
Mm.
your relationship with Malaysia probably has changed since you've been living in the UK, right? But I'm wondering, have you had any kind of like consciousness shifts or anything like that?
100%. I think from about the pandemic, that was when I had such an appreciation, because I felt like the privilege of like choosing to go back whenever I wish was taken away from me. And all of a sudden there's that real fear of, gosh, I may not ever get to visit home again. So I think since then, the first time I got to fly home, I started being a bit more intentional with where I go, and more intentional in my conversations. That said, after the pandemic, obviously we also have a lot of weddings uh, that come with every trip home, and this recent trip is the probably my first trip home without any big sort of wedding as part of it. And that was really nice because, as you both said, with, conversations with your parents, I found that I've never really had that space to ask. And when I did, it's always almost cut prematurely, because the nieces came to play with me again, or because there's another relative that's along the way, because we have quite a big family. So then it was nice to be quite conscious about spending time with, individually with my mom, my dad, even my brothers, and reminisce a story. And I think in the 3 weeks I was there, I've been playing with also staying with a story and seeing what comes on a different day. And there's always a slightly different take. Yeah.
Can I just say how unfair it is that, I mean, like you all on the podcast listening will not be able to see David, but David, like, okay, it is 10 to 8 or quarter to 8 at the end of what is presumably a very long day, and David is like glowing, honestly.
Really?
I feel like
I
your
feel like
recent
I'm a mess.
have done wonders for your skin, or have you changed your skincare routine or something? But yeah, no, I totally get that. Another thing that's happened actually since I got back, since we last recorded together, was I changed my name.
That's
Mm,
a huge one, isn't it?
big one, yeah.
And that was kind of that started. I've been thinking about it for a while. I've been thinking about it for a couple of years actually, but when we went to Vietnam, we obviously did a lot of um graveyard visiting, is probably the best way of putting it. But like, I think for a lot of people understand this, when you've been away for a long time and you go back, you spend a lot of time traveling around going to visit family graves. And we went to visit my grandparents in the church in Saigon. And in Vietnam, women don't tend to change their names. So my grandma's, her name is her maiden name that's on her little like commemorative plaque, and then she's right next to my grandpa. And basically, when my parents got married, my mum changed her name, and I only found out a few years ago that she mainly changed it because it would be easier for like administrative purposes, and they knew they were going to be moving nationally and moving around, and she didn't want to have any questions asked at like immigration control, basically. And when I found that out, I actually felt really, like, I guess a bit gutted that I'd almost had this part of my identity kind of arbitrarily taken away from me, and I didn't get to have both of my parents' names on my birth certificate. And then I realized that the great thing about names is that you can just change them. So
Mm.
did. And so, yeah, I mean, I got married a few years ago and I didn't change my name because, fuck the patriarchy. I was thinking about changing names. I was like, actually, this is the thing that I really want to do for me. So this means that I get to have both of my family names, both of my identities at the same time, which is very cool.
So what is it? What is the name then?
It's so in Vietnamese it's Vu, but in anglicized version would be Vu. So it's just it's Vu Peterson. But my middle name is like a Christian middle name as well. So now I've got two Vietnamese names and two British names.
Yay! That is such a big moment.
Mm.
So, sit back, mic drop. And we're here for a reason because we're recording a few days before Lunar New Year. So we're here to essentially just celebrate it, really, aren't we? We don't really have a plan for the podcast so much, apart from just,
Do we ever have a plan for anything?
yes, it's meticulously planned to the second, Mai-Anh. But this time we don't.
Yeah, it's a popular demand. The people were clamoring for us for the podcast during.
Yeah, actually, I had a few messages from people being like, "Oh, the podcast has been, it's not happened for a while now. When's it coming back?" Well, surprise. I wanted to swear then, but I won't. I'll be good today. Shall we start off by sharing what our zodiac animals are and like the characteristics? Because after having some research done today, it's so interesting the stuff that people, the horoscope, the zodiac horoscope says about zodiac signs.
Yeah, Viv, I feel like you'll have heard me talk about this twice already today, because Viv and I did a lunch and learn session for an organization earlier today. We talked a lot about zodiac stuff, but it will probably come as no surprise to any of you that I am a dragon, year of the dragon.
Dragon, it suits you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm also Scorpio, so I'm a dragon and a Scorpio. I feel like those two things just work so well for my personality. But I am an earth dragon, I think. Or is it this year that's an earth dragon? Or is this a wood dragon?
Yes, he is a
It
wood
is a wood
dragon.
dragon. I'm an earth dragon. And earth
Yeah.
dragons used to be like a little bit more chill than other types of dragons, but I don't think that rings true. Yeah, that's me. Year of the Dragon. It's my year, so I think I've got to be careful.
Mm. Yeah, that's what they tend to say, right? If it's your year, then you have to be extra careful.
I don't know. It's only Chinese people have ever said that to me before.
Yeah.
I think it was
So
Carly, actually.
be careful, Mai-Anh.
Carly's my like reference point for all things. You know, I feel like Carly's a really good. She knows a lot about Chinese superstitions and traditional practice and stuff like that.
Yeah, Carly
Yeah.
Woo Carly on Instagram, I think she is, but she shares a lot about this kind of stuff. So I just had a bit of an identity crisis just now because in that D&I thing that we did today, I shared that I was a metal sheep because, well, growing up, right, I thought I was a horse, okay, because on the 14th of February, that's when the day changed. And then we went to Hong Kong. Some old man told my mum, no, actually, you're a sheep. So then when I was about 12, it changed from being a horse to a sheep. And
Mm.
so I've been going around telling people I'm a sheep from there on out. Now Googling again, it says that people born on the 14th of February, you're actually a horse. So now I'm a horse.
Viv, has it ever occurred to you that a horse is just a giant sheep with no fur?
What?
Uh-huh.
No, it's not actually. No, they're
Like,
very different. They're very different.
They
But
are very different.
so because it says here, people born January the 1st to February the 14th in 1991 belong to the metal horse.
mm.
So I don't know. So I'm gonna have to. I don't know what I am anymore, and I'm having a true identity breakdown right now in this
Maybe.
podcast record.
Do you know
Yeah.
what we should do? We should look up the characteristics of both of them, and then maybe that by the end of this conversation, you'll have found some.
I mean, so I actually quite a few years back, and I can look it up again. I found like some website that says primal astrology, and it's a mix of your Eastern and Western
Oh,
signs together. And when I read through what I was, it was actually dead accurate. So I could send that over, and you can also have a look on what that is. But
was
yeah.
it Travel China Guide? Because that one told me that I
Mhm.
was going to have I had to avoid greasy, spicy food because I might get constipation. That was that's what that one told
Viv
me.
also said this on the very professional DE&I talk that we gave today, by
I
the way.
told I told 30 people that I don't know. But got to keep people guessing, don't you? You got to shake up the corporate space sometimes.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was metal sheep versus water horse.
Okay, wow.
Okay. David,
Yeah.
what about you?
I am a water monkey. I haven't really read what the characteristics are. Let me see.
Luckily for you, David, I have.
Oh, great.
Would you like to hear?
Always count on an earth dragon.
Yeah,
Go
I mean,
for
I feel like I could rewrite the characteristics for the Earth Dragon and just say the most extra person you've ever.
it.
Okay, so the water monkey is multi-talented
Yeah,
and
that's David.
observant person.
Yeah.
Um, more disciplined than other types of monkeys and prepared to work towards a particular goal that they want to achieve rather than get distracted by something else. The water monkey will sometimes hide their feelings away, which doesn't work
Oh.
in their favor, and they can be sensitive to criticism.
Hitting deep.
Monkey is a creative and inquiring person who loves to observe everything that's going on around them. They love to help others, and they are incredibly sensible and sensitive. Monkey is intelligent and is always eager to learn. How about this? An extremely good memory, and there are many monkeys who have made good linguists.
Wow. That
How's
is
that?
literally you in a nutshell, that.
It does resonate, and I guess it just kind of like pinpoints things that I have been quite interested in. But I really, really want to get into Chinese etymology, but it's just been that
Mm.
thing. So maybe this is a sign to really get into it.
I feel like the dragon years, the wood dragon, it's a good year to go for it and go get what you want. Like the dragon is a really powerful animal, so you should have the courage to go and
Right,
grab,
moment.
grab the thing by the horns. Do you
Mm.
want me to read yours to you?
Are we doing sheep or are we doing horse?
We
Because I
both.
have no idea.
We
Both.
can do
Okay.
both. I'll start with the horse.
Yeah.
My partner's a water horse actually, so it'll be interesting to see if
Cool.
you share the same characteristics. Okay.
Hmm.
The water horse has a friendly nature and brilliant sense of humor.
That is me. I'm hilarious.
Spot on.
Do you not feel like sometimes with these things there's a bit of a placebo? You're just like, yeah, 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 that's me. And you just you know.
Yeah, but some people aren't funny though. So
Okay, talk intelligently on a wide range of topics.
can talk what intelligently on a wide range of topics. Bullshitter, basically. I'm a marketer. That makes so much sense.
Okay, oh, here we go. They are great in business matters and quick to take advantage of any opportunities that appear.
Opportunist.
The water horse has a tendency to get easily distracted
Very
and
true.
can change their interests quite often throughout life and may sometimes
100%.
leave the project before finishing it.
100%.
Right, I'm not sure
Or
about
should
this.
I say
They are
50%?
usually dressed very smart and clean.
No, I have stains and
No.
everything.
They are very talented people who can go very far in life. The horse is an extremely lovely person and usually has a massive amount of friends and admirers.
I really do. It's a
Love to
problem.
meet new people and will always be at a party or a large social gathering as they love being the center of attention. Do you know what? I feel like you give off extrovert vibes, but actually you don't love being in massive groups of people.
Yeah, not in massive groups of white people, I've realized. But
True story, true story. Okay, so then many good leadership qualities admired for their honest and to the point manner. Love to be involved in debating. That can be very persuasive, a nimble mind, and can incorporate facts very quickly. They are not the greatest at keeping secrets. Okay, I'm gonna do the metal sheet now. Okay, systematic and reliable in everything that
I'm
they
not
do.
systematic. I am also not reliable. I know that.
Capable of doing well in the career of their choice. Don't do yourself.
Okay.
Despite their confident attitude, they really worry about events in their life and would find it to work extremely well in their favor if they could discuss their problems rather than keeping them bottled up.
Everyone
Extremely
needs a
loyal
therapist.
extremely loyal to their family, friends, and employers.
Not
Well,
really.
aren't you self-employed?
Yes.
Loyal to myself. And will often have very small group of very close friends who respect them for their reliability and confidence. An imaginative and creative person with the love for the finer things in life. They are easygoing and prefer to live in a relaxed and calm environment. They do not like to stick to a routine or timetable.
I
They like to
don't.
spend their time doing things and do not like to rush as they are perfectionists and will give
I'm
110%
not.
when they do.
I'm not a
Usually prefer to
perfectionist.
work in large groups rather than their own, like to have the support of colleagues, and they can get a bit nervous if they're left to do something by themselves. Persuasive in nature and often uses their charm to get what they want out of life.
Hmm.
I don't know. It sounds kind of like you could be both.
It sounds like I'm divergent, to be honest.
I feel like you should just go and watch that film.
Divergent. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay,
But
this
yeah.
is mine. Okay, the earth dragon appears quieter than other types of dragons. Lol, we've already discussed that. They have a large variety of hobbies. We can talk about my new hobbies later. A large variety of hobbies and are always aware of what's going on around them. Extremely good leaders and will not have any trouble getting people on their side when they come up with a new idea. They are very smart in financial situations and will be able to gather considerable wealth. Oh, yeah.
Wow. Oh yes.
Wow.
Make it rain.
They are good organizers, although they can sometimes be
Mm.
busy. They will always have a large circle of friends. Dragon is a proud and lively person with a never-ending supply of self-confidence, highly intellectual and very quick to take advantage of any chances. Determined and strong-minded to do well in anything they attempt, which usually comes very naturally to them. They are somewhat of a perfectionist and will always try to maintain high standards that they set for themselves, but they can be very quick to criticize anybody that tries to make a fool of them. They can sometimes be seen as blunt and straight to the point, and are certainly not very diplomatic or sensitive. Well, I don't know about that. Yeah, what do we think?
Yeah, I feel like that really
Yeah.
sums you up.
Oh, there's famous dragons. Martin Luther King, pop, pop, pop.
Nice.
Andy
Pop, pop,
Warhol,
pop indeed.
Sandra Bullock, Al
Wow.
Pacino, Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves, my boy. Oh, some not so good ones here.
Keanu Reeves, my boy.
Royal Girl.
Because he's quarter Asian. Is that
Yeah.
why?
Oh, and
Yeah.
because we're well, but my partner and I've got an ongoing joke about how he always wants to watch The Matrix. and I mainly enjoy watching The Matrix for Keanu Reeves. Roald Dahl, but less exciting. Boris Johnson, bleh.
Whoa.
Goals.
Let's see if there's any. Hang on, so hang on. Famous monkeys: Justin Timberlake, Aniston, Venus Williams, Bob Marley,
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Christina Aguilera. You're getting all the pop stars, David.
Christina
Diana Ross.
I'm a celebrity.
Kylie Minogue. All the pop
Kylie
stars,
Minogue.
the queer icons. Kylie
Love
Minogue,
that.
Diana Ross, Celine Dion,
Oh yeah, iconic.
and then Viv water horses. We have got
Oh, go on. What is it?
James Blunt,
James Blunt. Ugh, boring.
Gordon
Oh.
Ramsay, Bob Geldof, Will Young, Jordan, like Katie Price,
Why are they all men? Oh, Jordan. Oh, okay.
Barbara
Okay.
Streisand, John Travolta, Aretha Franklin, Calvin
Mm.
Klein. But if you decided that you wanted to be,
Random.
you'd have Bill Gates, Mel
Oh,
Gibson, Bruce Willis, Pamela Anderson, Will Ferrell, Nicole Kidman, Charles Dickens, Daniel Bedingfield, Coco Chanel, Whoopi Goldberg, Jamie Foxx, Julia Roberts, and Robert De Niro.
oh.
Mm.
I don't really resonate with any of them, to be honest. Maybe Whoopi,
You
but
haven't put any Asian people on these lists. That's what I want to know.
yeah, that's
Apart from
actually such.
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, apart from Keanu Reeves.
Seriously. I'm just
Well,
looking.
how interesting. How do you guys follow a horoscope usually? Like no, not at all.
Not really, yeah.
Hmm. Well, what's the point of us doing all this
Oh,
then?
no, but okay, so I have to say, in recent years, I actually I do use I like to use Lunar New Year and the like the new coming zodiac as a
Mm.
good opportunity to kind of frame what I want for the year. And I have this thing about, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do it this year. I used to, when I was living in Senegal, I used to go down to the ocean at like the turning of each new year and kind of stand with my feet in the water and do this whole like symbolic thing.
Oh,
And actually I remember when it was the year of the water tiger and I was changing my job and I was on the beach with friends and we were talking about it and one of them said, "You're just going to need to channel your inner water tiger." And I just thought, yeah, I do. So I do like to kind of frame
mm,
my aspirations and stuff in that way. But I wouldn't say that I'm kind of married to zodiacs or anything like that. I guess I do what a lot of people do and just pick and choose the bits that I like that I want to really
yeah. I'm just gonna
fun bit.
ignore the bits. Constipation. You could go to Arthur's Seat because it's Earth, isn't it? So you could be
Yeah,
grounded
cooking
with
my
the
meat,
Earth.
Yeah, yeah.
wash my hands in
Yeah.
a pot.
Yeah. And so moving on from this, what do we all wish then for this Lunar New Year? Do you have you set any kind of traditions or resolutions, I mean? Do you set resolutions anyway for the Gregorian calendar in January?
I do, yeah.
You do your vision board, don't you? Which I did this year for the
I'm
first
really
time.
not resolutions, but like yeah, I tend to I really like I really like New Year periods. I know people say that they're kind of bullshit and it's all a construction, but like so what? If you like and I know a lot of people really struggle in January, and that's totally
Mm,
like at the beginning of a new year, and that's totally fine, and I understand why, but I actually really like the opportunity to like I guess mentally spring clean and think about what you've done, all the shit stuff that happened in the previous year that you don't want to bring with you into the new year. Like the whole new year, new me cliche, but more of a
mm,
realistic, like, okay, what did I want to do last year that I still want to do? Is that a sustainable thing that I want to carry into? What are good habits that that I want to keep going with? Or what are things that I tried and they didn't work out? And I was telling a friend about this. I made this beautiful vision board this year, and I was telling a friend, and he said, "It's kind of like throwing mud at the wall, isn't it?" And I said, "Yeah, exactly. You just chuck it at the wall and see what sticks. It doesn't necessarily have to be realistic, but if it encourages you to create new, do new things, try new things, go new places, or maybe foster good habits, then there's no harm in that."
mm.
So yeah, I do set like Western resolutions.
Yeah. And I feel like, like in work, you usually have like quarterly reviews and goals and stuff, but we don't actually do that often with ourselves, apart from during New Year. But actually, it's quite useful to do that because surely we should invest in ourselves way more than we should do at work anyway.
Lunar
So
New like a second chance as well if you've been like if
My
the
second chance.
beginning of the year has kind of caught up with you and you realize that, oh gosh, we're already in February.
Yeah.
It's
You're
like
already fucked up in January.
exactly. What about you, David?
Yeah, I totally see it the same way, just having like kind of a short milestone to check in when it's near Lunar New Year of okay, how January has been and how do you then like pivot based on that vision board? Because I think we I also have this practice of creating a vision board, and what I love is it just gives me a sense of how I generally want to feel. And if there's one concrete resolution that I have this year is to take smaller steps and see how it guides me into more progress. And already I'm noticing I started a lot of different things and maybe even hit more goals by now than when I had a huge dream and then just kept it so distant. And yeah, I just like that it's always like relatively a span of like 30 days between New Year to Lunar to have that little playtime and then reassess. So can't wait for this
Mm.
spring tomorrow.
Just like an extra chance, isn't it? And
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't make specific resolutions for Lunar New Year, but I
Mm.
usually try and think about like the energy of whatever zodiac is coming in and then just like try and apply that energy to my own life. And that's not a superstition thing. It's just like I don't know, I feel like it's nice mental practice. It's nice to have like a theme or something to kind of go for.
Mm.
And I think like with the wood dragon this year, I don't know, I've just decided that my energy this year is just going to be like, no.
I love that.
That's my Lunar New Year resolution. It's just no.
No.
But it's hard, and I think especially when you've just moved back. Like I was away for 8 years,
Mm.
out of the country for 8 years, and you miss a lot of stuff, and you do miss nurturing a lot of friendships. And now that I'm back, there's obviously just so many people that I want to catch up with and family that I want to spend more time with. And if I allowed myself to, especially with all of the opportunities that come with besean and my day job, which is really, really demanding at the moment, I could just be so stretched thin, just doing
Mm.
everything all the time and committing to traveling everywhere and going to all these places. And I did do a little bit of that in 2023. And then I realized I was so rushed and frantic and I just wasn't ever here. And I wasn't fostering a good self-care, but I also wasn't fostering any sense of community or home where I had supposedly moved back to. And also, some of you listeners might know this, but some of us at besean are working on a book at the moment. And I basically realized that unless something changed, I was never going to get the time to actually knuckle down and finish writing this book. So I made this mental agreement with myself that I wasn't going to make any new plans for the next few months. And I've got a few things in the books already. Like we've got some visitors coming. We're doing another Vietnam trip in April. There are a few things planned, but I'm not making any advanced social plans because when people are messaging you trying to get stuff in the diary and you're like, oh no, January's completely booked up for me. No, February, February I'm away, might have someone come. Okay, March. And I'm like, why am I planning my life 2 months in advance? And it just really stressed me
Yeah.
out. So I actually took some time to write to a lot of friends and just say, listen, like I would love to do this, but reality is just not going to work for me right now. And I hope you can understand. And everyone's been really understanding and that's been really good. So yeah, that's my Lunar New Year energy is no.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
It's like I
You
want
know how
November to be all year round.
You know how like during Lunar New Year or like the days leading up, you'll clean the house, sweep the floor, and like sweeping is meant to symbolize like getting rid of bad energy, bad luck, and making way for good fortune and stuff. I really want to just continue that this year as well, and like sweeping away any kind of bad juju and bad vibes from my life. But also like it's also a chance as well, I feel like for me to kind of put things in the past. I think especially with like things that have happened and people that you might have grievances with or you might feel a certain way about, and equally they might do about me. I just want to put that all in the past, and I think Lunar New Year is just a really good time to do that because everything is so symbolic around this time, isn't it? Everything has a double meaning. Like you can't cut your hair because there's a certain meaning to that. You can't wash your hair the day of Lunar Year, washing away things. So I want to remind myself to just like put things behind me during this period and just move on from it and foster good energy so I can get more prosperity and wealth. so I could be wealthier.
Rich. Love that. See, I didn't, we always celebrated Lunar New Year when I was a kid, but not in any like really kind of culturally meaningful way.
Mm.
So I didn't grow up with many of the super
Mm.
anything. For us, it was just like money and food.
It's pretty
Um,
much same. Yeah.
yeah, but so like with all this stuff about kind of zodiacs and energies and stuff, and obviously like I always knew what my zodiac year was, and we would talk about the
Mm.
zodiac, but it was never like it wasn't a methodology or an ideology that anyone lived by in my family. But I found it really interesting and I guess formative to basically figure out my own relationship with Lunar New Year, my own traditions, my own feelings about it. And that's been really nice over the last few years, is just to kind of develop my own way of being.
Mm. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's a good, I mean, how do we all celebrate? How are we celebrating this year?
Lots of food. I think it's well, I'm not sure about in other countries, but in Malaysia at least, we tend to have these open houses. So you just invite friends to come along, and like the matriarch of the house would cook up a whole feast. And
Wow.
I know, yeah, it's really quite a nice privilege because you would then go into the house, bring like a fruits basket and receive your red packet and be enjoying this feast. And that's something I quite miss back in Malaysia, especially because I left for the UK just after high school, which meant I missed a really fun time when you get to choose which house you go to, like your friends and everything, and not kind of like aunties, which are like your mom's friends, and you don't really know who's there. So we're actually attending one this Sunday of a dear friend's, which was nice, like because she's also a fellow Malaysian, but born here. So then we get to sort of recreate this culture, and on a WhatsApp group, like it's popping off with all these like uncles and aunts, share because it's like a potluck party,
Mm.
and they were sharing these very impressive sounding food. And Wayne and I, my partner, we were just like, we'll just bring spring rolls, and that's it.
Are you
Yeah,
gonna
is
do
that
the
it?
Yusang thing, the prosperity tossing salad?
I'm not sure, because I think there were talks about maybe manually making it.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's also kind of like such a symbolic thing that we always have
Mm.
tossed together. And there's something beautiful about um kind of whilst you toss, saying out loud the wishes you have.
Mm.
And what I love is it's almost always for someone else. Like you don't really like say it for yourself, but it's
I would.
also
I
like,
want a Louis Vuitton handbag,
Yeah, I
please.
can imagine David being like peace on earth, and Viv going like, I want a new car.
Yeah, I need a new car. What else do I need?
Loads of money for your wedding.
oh,
Yes,
Pay for your
that would be
wedding.
good. That would be
Dream.
really good.
mm,
Um, yeah, I love the idea of like just new traditions because I don't think I've ever had like one set thing that I've always done every single year. It's changed so often. But what I really do love is the fact that like bringing in friends who have never celebrated it before. So my fiance, Manny, he's of Ghanaian heritage, and I think he's not really celebrated Lunar New Year before, aside from hanging out with me and my family. And like we're now doing our own thing, so we're going to make dumplings this weekend, and then we're actually going to be going to Ghana for most of the Lunar New Year period, which will be amazing. But I really like that we can now introduce our friends to kind of traditions and making it our own. And um yeah, there's something nice about not just kind of sticking to what you have to do and just doing it in your own way.
mm,
Completely. We've yeah, like I haven't celebrated Lunar New Year with my family for over 10 years, I would say, because I've lived away from home since I was like 18, 19. And I've done the same thing, especially when I was in Senegal, when I used cooking and going to the Chinese supermarket, which was kind of the only place where you could only really get maybe some Korean, but mainly Chinese ingredients. So I actually cook more Chinese food than Vietnamese food because that's just what I've had access to. Um, I got into the habit of just cooking these really lavish dinners and just inviting people around and explaining to them, this is the kind of ideology, here's the philosophy, and this is what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And actually saying to people like, don't bring any bullshit into my house. Like, and just trying to be quite straight with people. And people really got into it. And they wore lucky colors and brought gifts, and it's been so nice. And like my sister, I'm not seeing my family this year, sadly, but we've got visitors coming, so I'll be cooking again. But my sister's hosting Lunar New Year at her house, and she's inviting kind of extended family, but also friends. And one of them messaged me to say like, "Oh, what should I bring? Like, what's an appropriate gift?" And I just really, I love that. And like you and your fiance Viv, my partner and me, we've also we're trying to carve out our own traditions and stuff. And so like I said, I didn't have a particularly traditional upbringing, and we never had like a family altar at home, and like a lot of people do have an altar. My mum's got she has a place where she has her photographs and stuff, but it's not like a particular place that has votives or anything. And one of the things that I really wanted to do when we moved back to the UK was to make my own family altar. And I agonized quite a long time about, what it should be and where it should go. And no, and I know there's like, specific rooms that you should put it in and directions it should face and stuff. But at the end of the day, I was like, do you know what? It's not going to be a traditional altar because I'm not a traditional person. I just want a space where I can like honor my ancestors, but also honor
Mm,
people who have passed, who are very close to me, like including people very close in my lifetime, like my dad. And being able to honor to physically have something to put, some little treats or part of our Lunar New Year meal. Or I always keep beer on the shelf for my dad, or and like I put
mm.
lots of whiskey on there for him. Try and keep the food offerings topped up. And I've got all these pictures that from my recent trip to Vietnam. My uncle gave me a lot of pictures of grandparents and great aunts and great grandparents that I obviously have never met before. So I've got those photos. And at one point when I was talking about my plans for this, my partner, who's white Scottish, he sort of said, can white people go on the altar?
Oh,
That's so
They
sweet.
of course they can. Like, we can do whatever we want. So then he for Christmas he told his parents that he didn't want anything, like he didn't really want anything for Christmas.
Mm.
He asked for photos of ancestors. So his
Oh,
his parents gave him a stack of framed photos of grandparents, great grandparents, aunts,
mm.
uncles, just loads of, and so now we've got both of our families represented on this. It's not even an altar, it's just like two shelves on
Yeah.
the shelf in our living room, but it's got, incense and candles and little treats and stuff. So that's like our traditional thing. So yeah, Lunar New Year, I'll be serving up some food for them.
Oh, that's so sweet. And I
Grateful.
I love that Jamie asked for that as his gift, and
Oh,
that he wanted to
I
be
mate, I was
included.
like, I had to shed, I did shed a tear. Oh, it's
Yeah.
very.
Yeah, that is emotional. That is really, I might actually do that. I don't have a place for like my grandparents or my dad, so I might actually create that in this tiny flat somewhere because that's a
mm.
really nice idea.
Floating shelf or something little.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, this is what I love about like, the period of Lunar New Year because I always feel incentivized, if anything, to reimagine and to just see where I can make deeper meaning. And I re resonate so much with what you said, Mai-Anh, about beer. And I also remembered, like because in the past few years I have actually been studying the I Ching and the hexagram, which is, with the it's kind of within the Taoist philosophy, yin yang, and yin
Mm,
yang broken into these trigrams and hexagrams. But anyway, within it, my teacher was sharing with us, the five elements. So, wood, earth, water, all of that. And although she shared like a list of, those traits, similar to how Maya you shared about what a water monkey or metal sheep is, she emphasized that these are traits within her world, and the exercise has always been an invitation for us to cultivate a relationship to that element. So what does that
mm,
element mean to you? So with the beer, like what does that beer mean to you? And it's almost like, yeah, how can you inject your magic into the mundane so that, life can be lived a bit more meaningfully? And I think the first Lunar New Year thing I did was last weekend. Country Pack had a gathering. It's like a tea ceremony gathering. And what really stuck with me was Hannah, who's a fantastic tea, I don't know what you'd call it, master of ceremony. She shared a term with us, and in Mandarin is called 刺龙 Jiao Hai, which literally translates to the red dragon stirs the sea. And
Mm.
as we were sipping tea, she was saying, imagine your tongue being the red dragon and you're stirring the tea that's rolling inside you. I know my eyes basically screaming at the moment. But it
You,
really shows like the extent of like how much inject meaning into, what a really simple ceremonial type ritual of sipping tea, but adding grandiosity there or something, or whatever rocks your boat, right? But yeah, how can you play with tradition and make things kind of, fun and adventurous and even
yeah,
grand and outlandish even?
outlandish. So was it like, was everyone sticking their tongue out like, like kind of like that, or was it like,
No, no, you don't openly stir it, you stir it inside.
oh,
So you are like
oh, that makes more sense.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
just imagining everyone like drinking it like a cat.
I feel like everyone would be taking it quite seriously, and I would start laughing and spit my tea everywhere.
I mean, I totally did
Especially,
not set this
especially
up as well as she did. So if you were there, I doubt that you'd be bursting into laughter because she did it in the most poetic way. And
I don't know, never. I feel especially if Viv was there, she probably, when one person starts laughing and then the other person, you just can't
oh
control
yeah.
yourself. And I
I
would
have a really bad tendency to do that.
never underestimate Viv's ability to disrupt a really serious moment.
Yeah.
And we remember, do we remember the gong bath?
That wasn't on purpose though. So just for
Tell
the
everyone what
listeners,
happened.
Yeah.
so David kindly organized after EC Heritage Month, was it the year before last?
Yeah, before last, yeah.
Um, for us to have a sound bath, which like what is it, David? Like we sit there and then someone kind of like
It's
stirs
like
sounds like
yeah.
Yeah, from crystal
yeah,
balls and gongs and also rain sticks, which is like this thing
yeah,
that creates the
yeah.
rain.
It was really
There was like
nice.
guided journaling prompts and stuff.
Mm.
Mm.
It was lovely. And like when she said, right, you can turn over on your side, you might fall asleep. I was like, that's my cue. So I turned on my side and I fell asleep because she told us to.
Little did you know
Little
that
did
you
I
were
know.
ruining it for the rest of us with your really, really loud, like foghorn snoring. I
Was
have
it
not.
actually really
It was
loud?
honestly, so I don't know about for the others, but for me and Charlie, who were next to you, it was just so. I was first of all, I was just annoyed because it was so relaxing, and they'd given us these beautiful, like weighted eye masks, and it was really comfy, and we were on these like fluffy rugs, and it smelled really freaking good. And I was just trying to relax, and all I could hear was I could hear Charlie next to me, like shifting around, and then I was just like, well, now there's no way I can ignore it now because it was just so loud.
A bit, yeah. All I knew was that I was asleep. The next minute, I just saw her like standing over me, pressing gently on my chest to
Oh.
wake me up. And then, but because first started laying down, right, it was a different instructor, and then they changed halfway through, and then she started. So I didn't know who this random woman was staring at me. So it scared the hell. I was like, I was shocked when I opened my eyes and I just saw her like hovering over me with her hands on my chest. But she didn't tell me why until after the session had finished. But she said that was the first time that someone she's had to stop what she was doing and in order to then wake someone up that badly from snoring, which so I'm never doing a sound bath ever again. They're too relaxing for me. I really enjoyed it, but I need to do it like on my own.
Yeah, I
Oh,
guess it's like the point of it is that you're relaxed enough to feel like you can fall asleep that deeply. It's like when there's always someone who farts in the yoga class.
yeah.
That's probably me.
It probably is you.
But David, you were so nice. You were like, it just added another element to it.
It does. I mean, it's a sign when you snore, you're like in the deepest kind of sleep. But if you're conscious about it, like if you do attend like another gong bath, go close to the gong because you're much closer to
Oh.
the source, which means it gets drowned
Mm.
out.
I also
Yeah.
felt like it was really intense to be because I think I was quite close to the gong and I had the reverberations in my chest for quite a
It
long
was
time.
loud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's loud. Yeah, the closer you are, it's yeah, if you can withstand it, then hey. But if you can sleep to that level of a depth, you probably won't be affected.
Challenge accepted.
Yes.
So I think it's safe to say it's like a I don't know. I think we're all just kind of finding our way and finding our path with the whole Lunar New Year.
Mm.
Yeah.
Actually, I read an article about like for the first time, Chinese like millennials from China, so like who grew up and have their families in China, are starting to like buck the trend of doing these big family gatherings and are like choosing more and more to go off and do their own thing and that can become more
Mm.
like individualistic, independent way rather than like a kind of collectivist celebration.
Mm.
So that made me feel a little bit less bad about not seeing my family. Yeah, if Chinese millennials are doing it, I can do it.
Well, thank you for joining us in this impromptu Lunar New Year podcast
Yes.
record. It's been really nice to just chat again, hasn't it? It's brought a little joy into my life.
A friend of mine just before this recording was asking me like what it's like and being on a podcast. And I said, well, if you're not the person who has to edit it, it's just like for me, it's just really nice because you get to turn up, chat to your friends for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like it's like having a little Zoom catch up with your mates, isn't it?
exactly.
And now I have to listen to us all again when I edit this podcast.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I hope on that note that you all have a great Lunar New Year, whatever you're doing, however you choose to celebrate. And we will see you very soon for the next episode. We don't know when that's going to be, to be honest, but it'll be soon.
Happy New Year. Hope you all get rich.
Get
Pass away.
rich or pass away, did you say?
Pass away
Toss
and
away.
Pass away. Absolutely
better.
do not pass away. We are
Not
not
better.
Get
Not
rich or
uh-uh.
die trying.
Yes.
That's my motto. Right, we'll end this here. Thanks. Bye.
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 Mm.